let's make it very informal. If you guys have questions, stop me. I don't mind, but I'll go ahead and throw out a bunch of information out there, and hopefully it's of some value to you. All right? You guys ready? And if you have a baby, you got to split. Man, you split, okay? We'll know. All right, thank you, guys. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And again, thanking Goodson. Can you guys all see the Goodson logo up there? Thumbs up, good, awesome. All right, so basically my whole impression to basically share with you guys is just to really show you the value of what it means to brand on drinkware. Obviously, this is the only category that I carry. Typically, reps like me carry other things other than one category. So it's a little bit unique for me that I'm carrying one category, but I'll kind of show you some insight in terms of, why drinkware is a great option for you guys, okay? There's a lot of facts and tidbit information on here. I'm gonna stick with a couple of things that I normally like to tell customers, including end users like yourself, when it comes to drinkware. So in our promotional product world, drinkware happens to be the second largest category in the promo world. It's next to apparel. Apparel, obviously, much larger, but there's a lot that falls under the apparel umbrella, if you will, right? So what I always joke around with, and really, people say, you're a little biased, Mike. Maybe a little biased, but I don't think I am. I always share two unique reasons why anybody should be considering using their brand on a drinkware piece. Number one, it offers the highest visibility of your brand on any promotional product. And number two, it's the most daily used product of a promotional product with your brand on it, right? So going back, I just got done telling you apparel is number one. So I get people to refute me and attack me, if you will. Not really. But hey, Mike, you just told me I should be buying apparel. Why are you, I don't get it. I said, no, you should buy apparel. It's obviously a big category, but keep in mind, hopefully people aren't wearing the same t-shirt every single day, right? So there's my joke for the day. Anyway, so remember, highest visibility, most daily usage, okay? And there's obviously a lot within the category, from ceramics, plastic, which you'll see, really plastic can break down into acrylic, Triton items, stainless steel, obviously probably the king in drinkware, I would say. If you look at the retail world, people love stainless steel simply because you can hold hot and cold in the same piece, right? So why not have that item? The other thing that I want to drive home with you guys too, as you're listening, is that in the middle here, I don't know if you can see, there's this $266, right? I'm gonna hit home with ROI with you guys, okay? I've talked to a lot of people, and I know that I would probably have to say, and you may just, I don't think you'll disagree with me. I think you'll agree with me. But I think now more than ever, especially during the time that we're in, ROI is going to be one of the biggest things that's going to pop up on your radar in terms of, where am I going to spend my money? Maybe my budget dollars are being squeezed out, they're being used elsewhere, or whatever your situation is. I think return on investment is going to be huge for any company now, because you want to make sure you're spending your money wisely and you're spending it towards something that's going to be of value, right? So the reason I'm showing you this 266 is, on average, they say companies spend about $266 per person per year on bottled water. So now I have this image of, companies going out to Costco and Sam's Club, getting all these huge cases of bottled water, all for good cause and good reason. Even the people that are printing labels on those plastic bottled water, they're doing it all for the right reason, right? Handing out water bottles when people are coming in, obviously at different times now. Not so many people are coming into the office, but still. Obviously, this number could be skewed. Some people could be spending slightly more, some people less. My whole point is, what if I could show you a way to spend under 15 bucks per person per year and probably have an item that lasts much longer than 4 or 5 years? I'm assuming you guys would all be shaking your head. Well, yeah, tell me how, right? So the whole point is that at ETS and through Goodson, obviously, you have the ability to get high quality items. Most of them are going to fall a third of the price of what you would find in the retail world, okay? But on top of giving you a reusable piece that will stick around for much longer than a year, um, imagine spending under 15 bucks, whatever it is, maybe it's under 10 bucks you want to spend. The biggest thing is that aside from giving you a high quality item, we're going to make sure that we imprint it in a way where it really is unique and tells your story. And you'll see some of these here, but I'm just kind of highlighting some of the things that I'm talking about. Things that will pop out, will stand out when people are talking about your brand, right? Hey, where'd you get that? How do I get that? What does that mean? Whatever your story is, let's help tell it so that people can come back to you in herds, okay? So anyway, obviously I didn't want to discuss every single detail on here, but I wanted to at least touch some really great key points in terms of why should I even be thinking about drinkware, okay? Now I'll move on and show you quickly. This will kind of give you a little bit of a why or how our capabilities are, how are they any different than anybody else, okay? So to give you a visual here, basically, what you do is you get together with Landon, Brett, decide, hey, I like this product, obviously through sending you either specs or samples, whatever it is. We want to make sure that you get the item, you test it, you love it. Once you have an idea of what you want on it, it comes to us. Obviously, we basically digitize whatever we have to do. We burn screens, right, per color. And the reason I'm showing all of this is, it'll come around. You'll figure it out here in a second. But you have, for example, it goes to the screen here. Then we decide what PMS color. So, for example, we don't charge for PMS color. A lot of other competitors out there may have a swatch that you have to follow. And at our company, we actually mix all the inks for every single order that comes through. So once you pick your Pantone colors, whatever that may be, unless obviously you're printing digital, it'll go to a machine where, imagine yourself sitting in front of this machine here where there's a squeegee on top, your PMS color, there's a screen and imagery of what your logo is going to be printed on the bottle, right? So a lot of moving components, if you will. And so what happens is literally you're sitting at this, imagine yourself, now I'm going to take you to our factory. Imagine yourself sitting in front of this machine. You have to press a pedal in order for the screen to go in one direction. The squeegee goes the opposite direction. The bottle rotates all at the same time. And the reason I highlight this is just so that you're aware that there's no Oompa Loompas that are making these things from start to finish with these crazy unique designs that you'll see in a second, okay? It's a very laborious process, and we have to do this literally for every single color that we print. Okay, so I just kind of wanted to give you a visual. Any questions at all? You guys are still with me? All is good? Okay. Now I'm going to tell you about something that's very unique to us. It's called Avoid the Gap. And here's how I'm going to show it to you. So I mentioned earlier that typically people just like to print their logo front and center. Okay, I'm holding up an item here. Actually, I'm going to stop here for a second.
Mike, let me pause you for just a second. I do want to point out, so a couple things you said there, and I think it's something I just want to point out for our customers is no PMS match fee is really, really big. It's one of the reasons, one of the many reasons I really like ETS. He kind of just, he alluded to it, but all other suppliers out there, most other, not all, but most other suppliers out there, if you have to match a PMS color, they're going to charge you for every color that you have to match. And these guys will get as close as possible, and they don't charge us to do it. And then I realized that we went in depth there a little bit on the imprinting process, but I do want to just highlight that one of our, aside from the product quality, we just love, and I think that's why he showed that. They pay great attention and give a lot of care to how they print the items. And I think that's one of the other reasons that we love working with them so much, is because the print quality is there. That's it. Back to you. Sorry, Mike.
No, thank you, Landon. Appreciate it. So what I'm going to basically reference here is something that, like I mentioned, it's very unique to us, and I want to make sure that you're able to understand, because as you see some of the visuals that I'll show you here in a second, you'll have a better understanding of how it all works. So let me stop sharing here because I want you to be able to see what I show you, okay? All right. So here's an item I showed you earlier with the name Anita on it, right? Most people will print front and center on a large base item like this simply because they want their logo to show front and center, right? Now I'm going to show you this. What if you did this? take a Nita. Now you're really taking advantage of the size, right? Most people will say, well, they have to turn it. Well, guess what? When you're drinking out of it, people can see the logo when they're drinking out of it, right? But not only that, check this out. We also have, this is what I would call a low profile print, highlighting your message in a different way. Now we're putting a URL, maybe your icon, right, from the logo that you see here. And guess what? For anybody that prints this, if you decided to print this, it wouldn't cost you anything extra.
Yep. Still one color, one location imprint because of how it gets printed. Yeah.
Yep. It's one color as long as we're using the same color, guys. And this is where I'll get to teach you the whole wrap concept, right? As long as we're using the same color, we tell people to take advantage of the screen that we're printing on, because we can do two-side or we can do a full wrap. So here's an example of a full wrap. We're basically taking the black ink, but we're knocking out the name now to show the substrate of the bottle, right? And as we print, you'll notice that this huge gap happens, okay? Part of the reason this gap happens, guys, is because as we're printing it in that machine, like I told you, right? The ink is still wet. So we have to allow about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch gap every time we print. And that's any company out there that prints drinkware for you. Now, here's where we get to have a little bit more fun. Same logo that you just saw in that bottle, right? Print, print, print. But guess what? Now we're going to highlight that we can take advantage of that gap. This is what we call filling the gap, okay? This is a standard gap fill where you can visually see where the gap is. I like having it here. I feel like I need a mask out of a drinkware item. Maybe it'll be cooler, right? Anyway, so basically we're filling the gap. We're coming in with a new screen, guys, right? So this, again, one color imprint, right? Which would essentially be one setup to be able to do that. Here you have, even though it's one color imprint, because we're filling the gap, we have to come in with a new screen to be able to fill that gap for you. So now, in order to accommodate this, if you're visualizing that picture that I showed you earlier where, oh, we have to take the bottle again, put it in the machine, press the pedal, here we go. We are basically lining up to fill that gap with a second screen. So now you're looking at 2 setups and an additional run charge to create this.
Right. And I will say too, that the way that was printed, Mike, because it wasn't a continuous design, because we're doing a second screen and a second color, you could theoretically do that in a different color at that point. Now, if we were continuing the design to where the black stripe goes all the way around, then you wouldn't want to do that. But because of the fact that we're going with a second screen and a second run charge, you have the option of doing a second color. So if you wanted to highlight that website to have it jump off the bottle or something like that.
Exactly. And so here, I'm just going to show you something else, kind of the same imagery, but check out what we're doing here. So notice how it's, wait, what's going on there, right? All we're doing is we're basically now personalizing it a little bit better, a little bit more, so that you can't really see that gap. And it makes it look more 360 degree, really cool visual, right? Versus, sorry, everything's backwards for me here. Everything kind of fits nicely in there, right? Instead of just, let's just fill in a straight. Make sense? So,
and I made the comment yesterday to Mike about how I'm impressed. I think this may be a little technical, but it's registration is something that gets talked about a lot in our industry. So anytime that you're printing on an item with multiple screens or multiple colors, you have to hit it with each individual. And so lining them up is difficult. And there are standard shifts in our industry, typically of like, I don't know, call it a 1/16 of an inch. And these guys are not, they're lining things up perfectly. So that again goes back and speaks to, I think, the quality of the imprint. So just keep that in mind. And you know, the simple explanation is just keep in mind that they can line this stuff up darn near perfectly if we want to try to do some of those types of imprints to get creative.
Awesome. So I'll start to lean back a little bit on the whole technical side of things and make it a little bit more fun, but to help you walk through a logo, for example, right? So imagine this being your logo. We just kind of created a logo to show you what we would deal with, whether your logo is a full color design, right? Or maybe it's a spot color, 2 color versus 1 color. Here we showcase obviously PMS colors that we will highlight. And maybe in your brand, there's certain icons that we can use. Okay, so here's all those different icons. So with that, I'm going to show you what we call, so this So this, for example, is called the H2Go axis. And what I'm really showcasing on this decoration technique is, and really what I want to highlight, it's just a different variations of decoration technique that we can offer you. This one, I really want to focus more on what we call mirror imprint and even satin etch imprint, okay? So obviously all of this, and you'll have access to this, so you can, if you wanted to break it down, I won't spend too much technical time talking about it, but here's what we're working with. We're working with the one color logo and all the icons, okay? So on this particular image, I'm going to stop again and show you because it's much easier to see in person. So I'm holding up the same bottle you just saw. It's a little bit harder to see that front logo. I'll go back to it, but this is what I wanted to show you. I mentioned mirror print. So here what we're doing is we're printing a message on the outside here. I'm going to try to get in real close. Can you guys see on the top it says best burgers in town? Okay. So now if I rotate this around on the very same panel that I just showed you, I'm going to bring this in. Can you see that it says 10 years in a row? Mm. So it's a completely different message, guys, right? So think of this, think of mirror imprint to highlight, and notice how we're using that little wavy line from the icons that I showed you, right? So I'll go back here to get.
I didn't pick up on that yesterday, so this is kind of something I'm seeing. I'm
pretty cool, right?
I'm learning a little bit too.
So here, all we did is we took the imagery that was provided. So again, we made this up, but this is how we do it. We took this and we basically created a panel using that. Okay, and that's what you see here, the panels. Obviously, much harder to see. That's why I wanted to show you kind of in video, I guess. Yeah. And then the other thing that I wanted to highlight is what we call satin etch imprint. So can you guys see the burger, the fries, and the malt shake? Very subtle imprint. So think of it as a frosted imprint. And what's really cool about using this type of print is that if you guys decide, I'm going to go off base here, but I'm going to show you. Let's say you decide to print on a translucent item, okay? This happens to be a translucent charcoal mug, and I'm using satin etch imprint. And guess what the satin etch does? It picks up the color so that whatever the color is behind, whatever is on the substrate, whenever you print with a cool satin etch imprint, it'll pick up the same colors. So it still gives you a very subtle look. Here, obviously on clear, it's extremely subtle, right? You kind of really have to look at it to see it, but it's there. Pretty cool and different, right? All right, so let's move on. I'll keep going.
Satin etch, I'll jump in and say one quick thing about satin etch. That satin etch in our industry too is kind of like it's a way to simulate a laser engrave or kind of like a sandblast. So you'll get like, especially on like glass items, it's a way to give a glass item an etched look at a much lower price, essentially. So,
yep. The Palermo here just basically shows what we call glitz imprint. So basically on here, the waves that you see, if I were to hold this up close, you can kind of see a little bit, but notice how it's kind of, you can see gray. Maybe it is too hard to tell in here. Anyway, what we do is we add glitter to the inks to give it some substance. You hold on to it and it feels kind of grainy, but you can add the glitz imprint to any design on the item that you want. So here's the logo. We didn't add it to the logo, but we just simply added it to the waves that you see there. So it's just kind of a cool way to kind of separate the logo, make it stand out a little bit more, okay? Let's see here. What do we have next? I kind of showed this earlier as I was holding on to it. We do have full digital capability for you guys as well. So when there are a lot of colors involved, I would say that we could probably print it using spot color, but most people won't pay for all of those setups because every single unique color becomes a new setup, right? That's where digital comes into play and is really a lifesaver when it comes to setups because you only have one setup when it comes to digital design. So with digital, we can still do full wrap imprints for you and all that fun stuff, okay? Moving on, sorry. Okay, so here is another concept for you guys. I was holding this earlier. Basically, this is what we call the sticker-like concept. Think of ideas where maybe you are hosting an event and you have co-sponsors, right? These could be co-sponsors that go around the bottle next to your brand, your logo. So as you're looking at the last stand, imagine that being large and in charge, your brand, but then aside, you want to be able to highlight who else takes part of your partnership, right? So we've had a lot of companies do that and use that as a concept. Otherwise, if you just have fun sayings, a lot of people will use things from like their core values, if you will, right? You can highlight your core values wrapping around. Number one, when I carry this thing around, people are like, hey, what does that stand for? What does that mean? Like I kind of mentioned earlier. Again, just a great way to interact with people and have a talking point, if you will, right? So here, basically all we did, I showed you the icons earlier. We basically just decided to add a white imprint around each icon, and that's what creates that sticker-like look, okay? And then notice on here, you can see the lid. You also have a lid option to print on the lid if you wanted to, which is what I'm showing there. So a lot of fun ways to really decorate and design. Another really cool decoration technique that we do is called foil print. Nobody else in the industry does it. The foil is limited to 1 or 2 sides, which is what you're seeing here, but I'm holding up the same piece and I wanted to show you in video so you can just kind of see how it glares. It really stands out. It pops out a lot. There we go, right? Same piece, back, you see the burger. Really, really cool piece. It holds up just as well, believe it or not, as our standard inks that we print. So next, new concept that we just developed this year. It's basically laser capability. And the reason we waited for laser is because we wanted to take full advantage of the size. And we can, although this one is showing a 2-sided imprint, we can do full wraps with laser capability for you guys, okay? All right, so basically I'm just gonna kind of go through some visuals to help you kind of see, you know, different themes, different ideas. But again, taking advantage of the size, these are all obviously lasered to show you the capabilities that we have. On some items, depending on the lids or even if it has a handle, we are able to also laser for you. Here's a really cool piece, and I have this, believe it or not. I don't know if you can see it up here, but the growler, super, super cool piece, but it shows you just the level of detail, guys. Landon brought it up earlier about, you know, basically being able to print a lot of different colors using screen print method. We simply don't have issues with printing multiple colors at a time. This one happens to be, I believe, 6 spot colors. So this is 6 colors being printed one at a time, separately, right? So then the issue becomes, how do we line it up? We got to make sure it's not overlapping, or you have phantom printing. And I know I'm throwing some jargon out there for you guys, but you kind of get the idea, right?
Hey, Mike, quick question.
Yeah.
Patrick had asked, I think it's a great question, just a rough idea of the difference between laser engrave versus, I mean, I can't remember, are the setups the same versus imprint versus wrap? I mean, I think that the imprint area is not so much, but the methods themselves.
Yeah, so in terms of laser compared to screen print, so or really any other method, the setups are usually a little bit different. I think for us, the setups are not much higher than a regular screen print for laser capability. But what happens because of the laser, obviously it has to go under a machine, right? And it takes a long time depending on the size of the imprint. So something that is, for example, full wrap imprint laser is going to take much longer. So the run charges on it increase a little bit more. So it just depends on what you're looking to do. And we really don't determine it until we figure out, like, hey, how long is this going to take to print? And we can figure all that out for you. But yeah, typically the run charges, at least on laser, are a tad bit more expensive. And even the setup, slightly more expensive, not that much more than a screen print method. So
yeah, yeah. So basically the setup could be a little bit different, and there's probably gonna be a run charge that it carries, which we can kind of determine based on the item. And then he kind of followed up and asked, and I think another good question: does the durability difference justify the additional cost? And I would say my opinion is it's probably not as much about durability as it is just more of a preference for look. It may hold up a little bit better than a screen print over time, but like I think it's more like, it would be more like, is that the look we're after?
Yeah, that's what I would say. I
On a
mean,
construction site. That's a great point. So yeah, yes, a laser engraved imprint will probably hold up better. We probably would be more concerned about the actual, if we did an item like this, the actual like surface covering being chipped off than we would the imprint in a
right.
situation like that.
Yeah, especially on a laser. Obviously, I would say the laser is like permanent, right? It's gonna be embedded. It's gonna stay on. Um, so yeah, I mean, it just depends, and that's a great point. If it's gonna be on site somewhere where it's a lot of wear and tear, maybe laser is a good option for sure. Great question. This one is just kind of showcasing the satin etch imprint capability and how it looks tonal, right? It's a silver item, but it looks like you're printing silver. And really we're using satin etch to come up with that. Here's another great, I'll stop here for a second and just show you an actual piece. Can you guys see the logo? You guys are all familiar with the logo, right? So check this out. When we talk about telling your story, I'm not kidding. So this is Yokohama. It's 2-color imprint. They said we can't print beyond 2 colors. It's got to be 2 colors or we'll revert to 1 color. And we pushed the button a little bit. We said, do you happen to have vectorized art on your #1 selling tread? They're like, what? What do you need our tread for? And so when I bring this up close, can you guys see a little bit? That's kind of hard. So we printed their #1 selling tread and used that gap fill concept. Do you think they blinked an eye once they saw this for that 3rd color? Didn't matter, right? So the whole point really, guys, is that we can visually make things stand out and speak your language in ways that you've not seen before. Okay, so keep that in mind.
And I would say this is, if I would just focus on one thing that I love about what these partner series I hope will give us the ability to do is it can be challenging for us to figure out a good way to demonstrate all these different capabilities as far as imprints, because it's obviously the product, but then how you decorate the product is another conversation entirely. And I know Brett loves to take advantage of a lot of, try to take advantage of a lot of these kind of things, but being able to see all these capabilities in 30 minutes for you guys and hopefully people who will watch this when it's recorded, I think is just a great opportunity for them to broaden their horizons. And then we can come together on the back end and go, okay, now having seen all of that, let's start concepting some of that for us.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw this one already. So again, the other thing that I didn't mention also is a lot of times we'll want to match accents. And what we mean by that is simply you're looking at a gray lid. So when I'm printing, how can I make it look like it's attractive and it's together, right? And that's another reason why we did the satin etch imprint, because it comes out gray, which kind of matches that accent. So little tiny details like this, guys, we love paying attention to detail. There's a reason why we're the #1 drinkware vendor in our industry. For 36 years, this is the only thing that we've done. So we want to always push the envelope. We always want to be unique and different. And I'm going to stop here for a second. I'm going to show you something just so you guys are aware. Let me get it on here. You guys are all so nice and patient. Here we go. Let me know when you can see my website. Can you guys see the website? Okay, all these designs. I just wanted, because I'm showing you a lot of different fun, unique designs on some of the items. So on our website, we actually have, I want to say close to 300, it might be over 300 now, different stock designs that we use. So anybody in Cincinnati on the call? Or you know what, I'll stick with Louisville. Here we go. Where is it?
I was going to say, I know Kevin's close to Cincinnati.
Okay,
if not,
I'll do both. But notice the skyline here, showing a full wrap, right? So we're going to fill that gap. But this is the concept, right? We'll highlight a skyline at the bottom of your bottle, and it doesn't matter. So we're using obviously a larger bottle to show you the ability that, hey, you still have a large imprint area to be able to use to highlight the theme, right? We're going to print the skyline using your colors, obviously, so the branding comes together. But on top of it, think of just really fun, creative things. I don't know if maybe one of, I've had several times where people say, "Ooh, I like your skyline because our offices are in that building right there." I'm like, so can I do a call out box like old Batman style? Like, hey, here's, ABC Corporation. off the skyline. We can do things like that. We want to do things like that because that's what makes it fun. So,
well, and I would say, like the case of Patrick, I know they're opening, they're in the process, and we're helping them with a lot of things, opening a Louisville office. And so this kind of thing,
cool.
I think would be a great thing to consider possibly. I know we're underway on several things, but this is the classic example of where if you're wanting to highlight the fact that we're opening an office in Louisville, this would be a good use case.
Yep. Since you mentioned that real quickly, if any of you are international, we offer maps, for example. I'm kind of scrolling through here. Give me a second, and I missed the map. But we offer, obviously you can see through a lot of this scrolling that there's a lot of different features on here. The reason I was going to show you a map is for example, have highlighted the map concept. And let's say you have, headquarters in LA, Chicago, and Hong Kong. I don't know, I'm just speaking, right? We can highlight those with a star or with your icon or whatever it is. The point is just have fun. So I just wanted to at least have you see visually that, whoa, these guys, they have a lot of stuff that they offer. So I'll go back here.
I was thinking about you, Kevin, when he was showing that, just like because of the scale of radiology partners and or even like with Brooke, I'm just trying to think through some use cases to where highlighting cities where we have customers, potentially for virtual telecom, or there's all kinds of different ways to think through using that. I know Brett did one for a client of his where he highlighted worldwide offices for one of his clients.
Yeah, here you go. Here's some unique ones here. Where's the hospital themes? Here we go. Some hospitals, right? Washing the hands. These, we actually, so notice how these are separate, right? There's a design 462 and 463, just to throw it out there. I had a customer that said, hey, I would love to show both male and female nurses on the bottle. Could you do that for us? Absolutely. And we did that. We took the image of both the nurses. We still added the icons around it. And they didn't even want to highlight their logo. They just said, can you do me a favor and put a heart in the middle and say #heroes forever? And guess what we did? Very simple, but we made it happen. So again, we can take icons from different pieces. And if you have your own icons, really the reason we do all of these different stock designs is really to kind of help you guys open the door to, hey, I never thought about that. Let's get a little bit more creative. Let's open up that box and, hey, can we do this? So you guys start sending us vectorized art. You don't even have to put it together. Just send us the ideas and we'll kind of work with you and put together what we think would be best. So, okay. All right, you guys are doing great. Thanks for your patience. Let's go back here. So here, I'm just gonna kind of scroll through some of these. This again, kind of showing foil imprint. What I want to do is kind of scroll into some of the newer items. Here's an example of that satin etch imprint. Kind of tough to see. And this is a little bit tougher. In person, you can see it a little bit better. But again, very, very subtle. So, and then here's an example of one of our themes. There's a D4, which is our digital concept, right? So just so you know, digital concept, basically, we put the bottle in a machine and all the colors are sprayed on at the same time. So very different process from our screen print process. But with this, you're getting CMYK versus a PMS match, right?
And I would say, just pointing out there that, and most people here I think are aware of this, but CMYK, we can get close PMS matches, but we can't guarantee exact matches like we can with spot color. But they can get pretty doggone close. So I think, most cases it turns out pretty well.
Yeah. Another D4 concept there visually. Okay, so here's another really cool thing that I want to make sure I share with you guys. These nameplate concepts, okay? Let's assume you're looking at the CC mug in here. And sorry, because sometimes I get bored sharing the screen. So I'll share myself. It's the same piece, I promise. So here we're looking at the exact same piece I was showing you. So now let's just imagine this, the word CC is actually printed in two colors, white, and it's highlighted in like a maroon color, okay? Obviously we have some cool design background. Forget all that for now. What I want to showcase is the fact that if your colors are two colors, on the back side, I can print you a nameplate that you can get super creative with, right? Maybe you have a star in your logo, you want to use your star as a nameplate. And instead of saying Obviously, this one is highlighted for ice cream, so we put, flavor of choice on there. But you can put, don't mess with this construction worker. This bottle belongs to, right? Have fun with it. The whole point is that as long as I'm printing that nameplate with the same colors as your logo, guess how much that's going to cost? Nothing. So it's almost a no-brainer, right? Now think about people going back to the office. Apparently, now we have developed a lot more germaphobes. so for the people that say, don't touch my stuff, I want that nameplate because I want to put my name on it, right? Great idea. And we can put it on any item. I've done it on ceramics, on glass, you name it. We can make it happen. Simply take a Sharpie, any color, and we can print this any color you want to. Have fun with it, okay? Questions, comments with that? You guys good?
I was just going to point out that that's something, again, I think the nameplate idea is something that a forum like this is really good to show as well, because I mean, anytime those are put into offices, especially now, probably more concerned these days with that kind of thing, and make sure that people aren't grabbing the wrong cup.
We want to be more sanitary, right? Let's add an extra layer simply by putting a nameplate. And if it doesn't cost you anything, why wouldn't you? Have fun with it. Some other pieces here, I just kind of showcasing some different items. Here's that sticker-like effect concept, kind of cool and different. So now what I want to do is, to end this, I just want to kind of quickly go through some of the new items, maybe some things that you haven't seen. And I'll kind of blow through this a little bit quicker. If you have any questions, just raise your hand, stop me. Landon, I will tell you that those really cool visuals, I wasn't able to get on the program. So I'm just going to highlight the colors and kind of talk about them. We had some really cool visual guys. I wish I could have put them on here, but I just wasn't able to. So think of this as 4 columns, right? You have the first column, second, third, and fourth column. And so basically I'm going to go through items that we have developed and have been inspired to create through different color designs and uniqueness. Aside, obviously, from all the decoration that we're able to do, we're known for our ability to be a front runner in bringing things out that are very much retail-esque, if you will, for our promo world, okay? And you'll see through some of the items that I'll show you here in a second. So what we're trying to do with a lot of the items is we're picking colors that are very different from corporate colors to help highlight really the ability to showcase, what am I trying to say? Lifestyles, if you will, okay? So let me start with this one. So for example, the Echo is new. It's double wall, copper lined. And if you know anything about insulation, there's typically vacuum insulation and copper vacuum insulation. Just know that copper vacuum insulation is the highest level of insulation you can find on any drinkware piece in the world, okay? So you guys know some of the retail brands that you've seen out there. Most of them are copper lined, and that's what some of these are. So our uniqueness on these are just style, and we'll obviously be able to print lids for you. But the uniqueness of this one is that the bottom is actually a matte finish, while the top, where we're gonna print your logo or your brand, is a glossy finish. So just kind of bringing those two together, kind of cool and different. The next item is a new item called a Cooper. The exterior of this particular piece is soft touch, meaning it's almost like a rubberized material on the exterior, which is pretty cool. Obviously some unique colors, some muted tones here. And I think because of the accent, again, going back to how do I apply that? How can I use that? Think of maybe this being lasered, which would look really cool, just matching that accent. Magnolia, a new ceramic piece, a new ceramic mug, large handle. So one of the uniqueness, or one of the unique things out of the retail world is this two-tone look. So the bottom mug is actually an unglazed portion of the mug, but it just kind of adds a little bit more passion to the mug, if you will. The Oslo, just kind of a cool, different handle. It actually sits really well in your hand, but a nice, nice item with some nice colors, obviously. The Quantum, so this is, you remember this one, Landon? We were talking about this one. You guys notice 7.5 ounces. I don't know if anybody's like thinking 7.5 ounces, that's like a sip. I just happened
We
to
said
get a
this was
sample,
a,
and
we're in Kentucky, so we said this was a flask.
seriously, look at how small this is, guys. Okay, so the CC mug, which most of you already know, can you guys, here, let me stop this for a second. I'll just show you this and I'll keep going. But just so you guys can get a sense. Here's that stemless wine glass that most of you probably have. Look at how small this little guy is. This is a great shot glass. I'm kidding. Whatever you want to use it for, this is great, right? Think of your like early espresso shots in the morning. Probably fit, I guess, maybe 2 good espresso shots in there. I don't know. But it's so tiny. It was fun for me to show. I just got it yesterday, so you guys are the first ones to see it live. But anyway, and there's a lot of questions there, so I should probably stop soon. And I want to make sure I answer all your questions. So here, let me just kind of scroll through a couple other good ones so you kind of see visually. The bottom is actually a rubberized cork. So it's not a true cork. It's rubberized, but it's made to look and feel very much like a true cork. The plus side of this is cleaning purposes, guys. With true cork, a lot of times you may get the cork to basically absorb smells, even water, if you're not drying it properly. Over time, it could have an effect on the item, so you don't have to worry about this. Here's another, this is a 20-ounce version. The Austin. The Explorer is new, very similar to the mug I was holding earlier, but notice I don't have that cork base. All we did is take our 12-ounce camper mug and included that really cool base with some really fun colors. Again, highlighting that outdoors, really kind of focusing on those camper glampers, if you will. If you're a camper, you know what I'm talking about. Here's a new bottle called the Wave with the ombre finish. This, I've been telling people that if you print with a satin etch finish, this would be amazing because you're not going to lose the color of the substrate as you're printing with your logo or brand, which would be pretty cool. Going back to, I've been telling a lot of people throughout this whole really COVID experience, we've gotten a lot of requests for safety bottles or hands-free bottles. I've heard it all. I like to call it sanitary safe bottle. It's probably a better way to explain it. But here, basically, you push a button, the top comes back. So basically, you never have to touch what touches your mouth, which keeps it safe, sanitary safe, right? So now imagine this, and then adding that extra layer of that nameplate on it, you would be amazing. People would be like, whoa, this is a pretty cool piece. And then the Vertex, another item that you could use in that same way. Pop the lid. You never have to touch what touches your mouth as you're pouring the liquid out. Couple other features on some mugs, a little bit larger. The Aura. What I do want to showcase here for you, I do have one with me, but on some items, as long as the whole bottom is not unglazed, we can also print a different message for you on the bottom of the mug. Okay. Here's the Iris, just kind of a unique look with the handle. This one happens to be cork, guys. And I know earlier I mentioned I probably threw cork under the bus earlier. Honestly, the reason we brought it out is because it is very popular in the retail world. It's a great piece because you're able to basically use it as a coaster, right? So if you're putting it on a glass table or a nicer wood table or marble, whatever it is, it acts as a coaster. But I would always say, make sure that you hand wash something like this, because over time, you just don't want to deal with the potential issues because it is true cork. So by popular demand, we were forced to bring these guys out, but they're very, very sleek, very cool looking. Logan, the Clay, another one a little bit smaller. Cedar. I think we're almost done, guys. So here again, just example of some stock designs that we can incorporate with your logos and designs, right? Which I already kind of touched on. And then nameplates. Again, get creative, have fun with it. That's what we're here for. We want to make sure that we kind of drive the point home. I think this will be available also just to give you kind of an impression of where do people use drinkware, right? As I mentioned, highest visibility, most daily usage, everywhere, guys, right? Home, office, you're commuting, doesn't matter. And here, this kind of shows some pictures, some really cool designs that we can incorporate for you. Last but not least, also know that we do carry 3 retail brands for you guys. They are Bubba, Contigo, and Blender Bottle. The latest addition would be the Bubba brand. We've had Contigo. We've been the only Contigo supplier to basically be able to print logos, I think going on 8 years. So obviously they think we're doing something right. And that's all I have for you guys. You guys have been very patient. I appreciate it. I can stop, look at some of the questions, or if you guys want me to answer anything specific, please unmute yourself because I hate talking to myself. And,
hey, Mike.
Thank you, Brett. Hi, buddy.
We're back. We're back.
Patrick, I know you had a question, I think.
Well, yeah, and it's so what I'm running into is we're hitting a size where some of our customers are starting to send us sustainability type rating surveys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of a mid-size electrical contractor, but you can read the paper and see all of these Google and Facebook as they build new data centers. They want more sustainable sites, right? More green sites. They're tying in solar power. So where I'm going with this is we still do bottles of water just because, Fastenal, it's cheap, it's easy, you don't have to think about it. We're rolling out some initiatives to recognize field leadership. So I think those with the Bubba bottles will be a great way to get that into their hands. But I didn't know drinkware as a whole, if you've seen anything or what's a good in between of, okay, here's a permanent bottle solution, right? That you've got to go seek the water out to here's these cheap plastic bottles that we all know are floating off the coast of Japan. What's the in between? Is there a biodegradable option? Have you seen? And then I know that's probably bigger question but that's one of the things I think we'll be challenged with here sooner than later.
We run into it a lot. I mean, obviously what it comes down to is, we push the fact that people are using filling stations more and more. They're being added like everywhere, right? So my little hometown elementary school, they put these brand new, filling stations. I'm like, wow, I thought they were only in airports and hospitals. So the fact that those are just spreading like wildfire, we really kind of use that because, again, you never have to really touch anything, right? And talk about being, sanitary and safe. You put it up, you close it, you're good to go. In terms of really making things with, certain materials, we've tried it in the past. It never really went anywhere. Like what I found is that people really love to talk about the fact that they want to do something about it, but either they're not willing to pay the price for it, right? Or it just falls dead in the water. It doesn't go anywhere. So we've just been really focused on, trying to follow the trends in the retail world. So like I mentioned, stainless steel is probably king right now because you can carry hot and cold. You can do whatever you want. And so that's, I don't know if I answered the question, but
no, it's fine.
Patrick, I was going to just ask. So you're on site, so I mean, you'd have to have a water source too. Like
I mean, there's a lot more challenges there, and you're right. I mean, the easiest way would say, if I can say I spend X amount on these water bottles, if I put these in their hands, and now we know moving forward, all sites will have drinkable water. I still have to prove that business case above and beyond just branding, right? If I'm talking about replacing all the water that goes on site, because we did try the branded water bottles, which was great up until another contractor was walking by. They're like, we need some water. They grabbed a case of our bottles, took it over to their site, and then they left the trash on the site. So now we had our logo, pretty logo plastic bottles laying all over the site, which was pretty awesome. So we've kind of quit that. We've gone back to Fasten. So now Fastenal gets to litter the sites, as opposed to us. But it was just I don't spend that much time thinking about drinkware, right? So your first slide on ROI made me think if I were pitching, I'd be pitching sustainability, right, too, because that's becoming more and more in the forefront of everybody's mind. So
no, good call.
Yeah, that's a good thought. Brooke, you got anything?
What is the general price point on the sticker style wraps on the bottles?
And honestly, it depends on how many colors you print, because we can create that image using a one color imprint. To be honest with you. So what I've done in the past, so like you're looking at this one and it's 3-color imprint, right? So I've been able to turn something like this into a one color simply by showcasing the color of the substrate as the main logo with the white as the print. Does that make sense? Just to still make it look like a sticker-like effect.
So generally speaking, the rule of thumb is the drinkware and if you take like a rectangle imprint area all the way around, it doesn't matter what we print there. So really they're just choosing things to print there. So really it's still going to be similar to if we were just printing the logo. We're going to price it out as number of colors. And so to Mike's point, like if we did virtual telecom and we did, a bunch of other icons or a nameplate or whatever it is, if it's 1 or 2 color, we're just going to price it out as a 1 or 2 color job. So there's not necessarily there's not a premium to do it that way.
Yeah.
At all. And I mean, if anything, if it would help you, hey, I have this idea, but I don't want to spend more than X amount of dollars on it, right? That's where we can kind of visualize and say,
Right.
well, these would maybe be the best way to approach it, whether it's a 1, 2, whatever it is. But yeah, we can help you with that.
Great, thanks.
Aubrey, were you going to ask something?
No, I was just excited to hear all the information. Great job, Mike.
Oh, thank you, Aubrey. I appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do want to thank Mike. I mean, appreciate your time and obviously appreciate our customers' time. And so kind of the exit here is we're going to follow up with each of you. And, we've recorded this. We're going to post it so that hopefully our other customers that weren't able to join us live will be able to watch it. And, kind of our offer, we'll follow up. And I think there's been a lot of information shared. So if there's like, we'll probably get some, I'm sure, files from Mike that we can even, put out there to you guys if you'd like. And if there are any samples, and I think, not that, we can pursue spec sample. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we could do as a result of today. So we'll follow up, and I want to hear from you guys individually, and Brett will as well, on what we can be doing to, bring some things across the finish line if there's anything that's piqued your interest here.
And I just want to throw this out there too, Landon. If you guys saw any particular item that you really liked, let Landon know. I'll send it to you guys. Okay, so you can try it, test it.
Very good.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Fair
Thanks,
enough. Awesome.
All right. Well, we'll let you guys get back to it. I think we've stayed on time pretty well. And thanks for joining us on our first. The other thing I would say is that we welcome, I would really love your feedback. We put this together in about a week. We're hoping that we can get more to join us. We're doing another one, I think, in 3 weeks. So would love to hear from you guys, Brooke, Aubrey, Patrick, anything. And I'll be following up with those who joined us that had to jump off. But would love to know what you think we can improve, because I want to keep making this better.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you all. Appreciate your time.
Thanks. Everybody
Thank
have a
you.
great day.
Hi,
Good luck, Patrick, with the baby. See you guys.
Yeah.
Bye.